good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Area 51 Superspeedway Truck Series here on Green White Checker TV. It's another Thursday night, and we are ready to be back at Talladega Superspeedway. Another 75 laps here tonight in the bright sunshiny day. Here, 78 degrees of air temperature, a little bit hotter track temperature here tonight, but we're back for another round of the weekly series here. So I'm excited for another one. I know this season schedule we have Talladega, Daytona, then rinse and repeat. So we've got another week here at Talladega before we move back to Daytona next week. So I believe this will be week number 5 here on the season. We've seen a lot of chaos and a lot of fun. I don't think any race has really finished the same so far this season. So even though a similar story for the lap count bouncing back and forth between Talladega and Daytona, definitely different stories as far as how the races go and progress. So excited here as always to be calling the shots again. My name is Boomer Logan, and we'll be running the broadcast for this whole season. We got also tonight with me Maxwell Caldwell. He'll be calling the action as our second chair tonight. How are you doing tonight, Maxwell?
Doing good, Boomer. Glad to be back again a second week, and hoping to be here a little bit more throughout the season. See these truckers really race and do well tonight. And, you talked earlier about seeing different races and different outcomes each week. Well, there's one thing in qualifying I'm seeing right now that, some things just don't change, right? Sebastian Martin, Gary Klipinski, and J.D. Crow, top 3 right now in qualifying, always seem to find that little bit of extra speed. But look at the times throughout the top 10. Super tight, between 5/100ths of a second there, Boomer.
Yeah, definitely pretty impressive so far. We're looking at only a couple hundredths separating really the top 5. So it's these guys that are up at the front really know how to qualify very well. And obviously, like you said, no surprise so far. Sebastian Marin putting in the fastest lap with his teammate Gary Slipinski starting outside of row number 1 as it sits right now. We still got a few cars, only 24 have qualified. Looks like we'll have about 30 in the field tonight. So we'll see if anyone else elects to take a time or not. It does look like there's about 45 seconds here left of lone qualifying before we will get ready to grid and start the race.
Absolutely. And, some storylines I'm going to be watching here tonight. It's going to be that Team Bootknocker, seeing if they can continue the success they've been having this season, running up front, trying to dominate these races. Last season, we saw them really hang out at the back and try the fuel save game most of the time. But, last week we saw them stay up front the whole time, trying to control that race, see if they continue to do that. And then also looking through the field, seeing some guys I haven't seen racing a little bit coming back. I know the O2 of Seth Groover with us tonight. Really, really fast here, but normally he runs with his brother in this series. Doesn't have that help tonight. Who's he going to partner with? I saw him working really, really well with the 78 car there in practice. So lots of things to look at here as the cars get ready to grid.
Yeah, we are just about ready to go here as it looks like we're going to see a few drivers start to make their way onto the grid. And speaking of that, let's pull that up right now, your starting grid for the evening. So again, we did mention Sebastian Marin holds that top spot for Team Bootnaka Esports in the first overall position with his teammate Gary Slipinski in the outside in that 78 truck. J.D. Crow and Mark Mann will make up our second row, followed by Joe Delavecchia and Cody Nagels in the third row. We have Vicente Guerrero and Eric Laurie behind them in row number 4 with Donald Stewart and B.K. Anderson rounding out your top 10 for tonight. In 11th, we will have Seth Groover, followed by Michael Spell in the 88 to his outside. Move to the second sheet here, and we do have Paul Sheldon and Bud Steele on the 7th row, followed by David Overstreet and Robert DuPont in 16th, Noel Cowers and Donald Kendrick in the 18th spot. Rounding out your top 20 is Robert Jordan and William George. We do also have Jason Adams and Andy Brigante back again in the 11th row, followed by Taylor Toller and Rick Seabrans to round out your top 24. You have 36 in the field tonight, so you see the rest of them. We have, looks like most of these guys electing not to take a time, I believe. So Gabe Butler starting in the back in the number 1 truck, followed by Matt Wagner, Jimmy Crow Jr., and Robert Rock. Jay Hillard and Keith Horner will round out your top 30. And again, if they do not elect to take a qualifying time, then their starting spot will be determined by their I rating on ovals. So outside of our top 30, we'll be starting with Andrew Schroeder, Randy Miner, Todd Siebels, Dean Wilkinson, and Brandon Briggs and Kyle Heath will round out your last row to start this evening. Looks like we are just about all gridded. Everyone except for Kyle Heath is out on the track. So we are going to get underway here. See if we can grab a view of our drivers as they head off. Got, looks like a new paint scheme for the number 23 here. Maybe a nod to a bit of a Lowe's truck there. He said he'd have a couple new paint schemes up his sleeve after his win last week. So it's exciting to see all the beautiful paint schemes that you were mentioning earlier in this league.
Absolutely, got all kinds of different ones sprinkled throughout the field. Lots of colorful cars. Should not be hard to pick some of these guys out tonight. But as we get ready to come out of turn 2, as these guys are getting their temps up, getting ready to go here, just wondering how this race is going to play out tonight. You know, last week, I don't believe we saw a single green flag pit stop. I believe everything was under caution last week, if my memory serves me correct. So with that being the case, are we going to see green flag stops this week? Are the drivers going to be a little more tame? Are we going to continue to see the 3 and even 4 wide racing that gets produced in these trucks here at Talladega Superspeedway? A lot of things to think of as these drivers head off into turn 3, getting ready to go.
Yeah, definitely will be exciting to see here for sure. We've kind of had a tale of a bunch of different races here. Nothing really has gone the same each week. Obviously, both of the guys on our starting row have bagged a win for the season, as well as Gabe Butler and Richard Sanchez this season. So looking to see if either of our front 2 starters can double up, be the first repeat winner for the season, or if someone else will take the show. It's kind of been the Team Bootnaka Esports and the TW Motorsports show. Obviously, all of our winners have been from one of those 2 teams, and really have been the only 2 teams that have been able to grab enough momentum to try and help each other to the finish line and make something happen. So definitely a lot tonight we'll have to do, I guarantee again, about that teamwork that you will see. Definitely wanting to make sure you stay in line and push the guy in front of you versus trying to kind of be your own hero. So we'll see how that goes tonight as we are rolling through the trioval here at Talladega Superspeedway. As always, our initial starts will be off of the green flag or the green lights thrown by iRacing. And here we are underway for the 5th race of the season.
Absolutely, the 23 and the 78 heading off into turn 1. The 78 on the outside getting a great start on that green flag, pushed by the 57 there, and getting a great run in turns 1 and 2. But here comes Sebastian and JD, 2 teammates working together on the bottom. I look quickly to see if they can get Gary there with them as the 06 makes it 3 wide on the backstretch, but he has no help.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that outside lane kind of be the big deal as far as moving to the front. I think it was Gary Slavinsky last week went from like 30th all the way to 1st in a matter of a lap or 2, all the way on the outside by himself. And obviously we see not a lot of help up there, so that line is not quite getting ready to go. It looks like we see one steer as well there. So a lot of guys probably going to try and make it work tonight, but so far settling in the 5 here as we are going to round out the first lap. Looks like Gary Slavinsky leading the first lap.
Absolutely. Now looking for him, and he makes the move. Like I said, teammates here kind of letting him in line. Now they're 3 in a row here, dropping in line. Team Bootnaka Esports on the bottom there, 3 deep. And we see the 071 pushing the 057 there. Eric Rory giving a great push to him. But those trucks look a little wiggly there on the backstretch, like we talked about last week. Maybe not as compatible. Hearing some drivers like Sebastian Marin really focusing on whose trucks they can push and whose they have a little issue with, determining by the server connection and even maybe just internet connection in general. So looks like the 057 and the 071 get a little squirrely when they touch each other there, but the 23 and the 78 are looking strong out front.
Yeah, definitely. 4 of the 5 Team Bootnaka Esports guys up in the top 5 right now. That is the 78 of Gary Slapinski and Sebastian Marin, as well as JD Crow lined up 1, 2, 3 on the inside line. And you also have the 071 of Eric Laurie second in line in the outside row. Remembering that Gabe Butler, their other teammate, elected not to take a qualifying lap and started in the back of the pack. Does look like we do have a little bit of a line here on the outside. Looks like Vicente Guerrero and Bud Steele have linked up to make a little bit of progress as they just about get to the outside of Eric Laurie here. Almost even with him is Vicente Guerrero on the outside. We also see that other, so we got a couple of bright red cars here. We got the beautiful Budweiser truck of Vicente Guerrero and that 32 of BK Anderson. Love seeing that Fruity Pebbles car and all the wonderful schemes that he has every week. Definitely a fun bunch of paint schemes like we've already mentioned. So interesting to see. We'll see now the 23 will jump out in front of his teammate. So they're kind of switching strategies. I believe it was Gary Slapinski that jumped down in front of the 23 at first. So maybe trying to change it up a little bit and make sure that the guy leading the race doesn't always have to burn as much fuel.
And I don't know if it's that as much as it is bonus points. We've seen these championships come down to the wire. I've seen one in Area 51 decided by a mere 2 points after a 12-race season. So bonus points are everything. I know in our Monday night series with the Next Gens, me and Gary we're 2 points apart as far as being the top guys with bonus points, and we're first and second in the point standings right now. So bonus points really matter, and especially in plate racing. That 23, the reason he's up front, he wants to lead the most laps because that's going to award an extra bonus point at the end of this thing. He let Gary lead a couple, but he knew he needed to get up front and try to control this race. But that third line is running very strong, and notice when they get a big push, it really divides the middle lane up. It gets those cars kind of separated a little bit. And one more thing I wanted to point out, you were talking about the one of Gabe Butler there in the back. Really shocked he didn't take a qualifying time to be up here with Sebastian. I feel like them two are the guys that are the favorites for this championship, and for Gabe Butler to not be up here trying to snag some bonus points or at least a lap-led bonus point, really shocking to me. But I've seen Gabe win many races from starting at the back, so I'm sure he's got a few tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, for sure. And Gabe Butler actually leading the points battle right now with a total of 150 points. Gary Slapinski in second with 132. So Sebastian Marin is actually quite further down the points battle with 69 points in 18th place, tied for 18th actually, after missing 2 races so far this season. So he definitely not looking to be in the points battle for the championship, but still willing to help out his teammates and hopefully get them there. So we've got a couple, pretty much like we said, it's kind of the TW Motorsports and the Team Bootnaka Esports show as far as the top of the standings go. In first is Gabe Butler, followed by Gary Slapinski. Then we have the first TW guy of Richard Sanchez, and Todd Siebels, followed by Dean Wilkinson as well. So a little bit of that split story again of those two teams that really do a great job of lining up and pushing themselves to the front. You don't necessarily see those TW Motorsports trucks all at the front right now, but I guarantee you will at some point in this race. Definitely like to typically link up from the back of the pack and work their way towards the front and stay out of some of the craziness and avoid the attrition. So look to see them making their move probably later in this race. But we do have BK Anderson now working by himself as we see a little bit of wiggle out of the 057 and the 071 there in the middle lane. Seems like we might be getting close to maybe breaking down to 2 wide, but definitely that outside row definitely losing a little bit of steam here.
Yes, but as he loses steam, he picks up a few cars there in the back. And we've seen that third lane, as long as there's 3 to 4 trucks in that lane, these guys can really start charging a run as that middle lane has to check up. That outside lane has a lot less trucks in, and they can really just use their momentum and the runs they get off the top like they are right now to just zip right back up there. I expect going into turn 3, the 32 will be right beside the 057, if not sooner, because look at that massive run they're getting down the backstretch. And one other thing I did want to point out here, Boomer, is we talked about Sebastian Marin having to miss 2 races and putting himself in a pretty bad spot in points. We do need to remember in Area 51, before the playoffs, there will be a drop week where your worst finish is dropped off. So that kind of helps guys like him. If he can get a couple wins in the bag here, he can possibly recover and maybe make himself into that top 8 to go for a championship and defend his title from last season.
Yeah, after last week, after his second race, he 13 points in the championship standings, up to that 18th place tie. So, looks like we do actually have a crash here. Yellow has been thrown, so we will, the field will come back down to 2K speeds. Let's see if we can grab a view of that caution here. Alright, so this is the replay from the yellow flag, and it looks like we're already well ahead of it. Let's go back to, I believe Matt Wagner said he may have been involved. Let's see if we can view it from his point of view. Okay, by now we're already wrecking, so let's try and go back to the yellow flag here. Yeah, it looks like there was, we'll rewind it here just a little bit, see if we can get a good replay here in a more zoomed in view, but it looks like we had the 11 of Matt Wagner here play it at quarter speed. An unmarked 11 truck for Matt Wagner here tonight, and the 39 jumps to his outside, 3 wide with the 48. Oh, it looks like, almost looks like the 39 kind of jumped down. I don't know if he made contact with the 48, but or, you know, it kind of seems like he might have net coded with the 11, but man, that's really unfortunate. Those guys look like they're probably going to all have to, maybe not the 39. I guess the 48 looks okay, but those guys, maybe the 11 for sure, might have to use this fast repair early, which is unfortunate.
I think a couple of these guys will. The draft means everything. Either they need to fix damage if it's under a minute, but if it's over a minute of damage, you're going to have to use that fast repair up early just to be able to stay on the lead lap. So as we come off this caution here, we see that everyone is coming down pit road. We were about halfway through a fuel run, pretty close to it. So all these guys are going to come at least get fuel. I don't think you're going to see a lot of tire changes at this current moment. But if they want to, they could take them now. And if they pit under green, they could go no tires then. But here, everybody comes sliding into their pit boxes, ready to take on at least fuel and maybe a couple sets of tires.
It'll be interesting here to see. Looks like a little bit of a split strategy we'll see as they roll off here. No, I take it back. Lots of guys in the 7-second range, so just a splash of fuel here to get that thing filled back up. I do see some guys towards the back of the pack. Looks like Andy Brigante, the first driver to take tires, followed by William George and Rick Seabrands, Randy Miner and Dean Wilkinson, and everyone beyond them, either taking tires or a little bit of damage repair. It looked like the 171 we didn't mention also got into the, you might have seen it, but we didn't mention it. That's Sebastian Mayer and Clip Saccone here. 171 also getting a little bit of damage. So we do see the 39 of Jimmy Crow Jr., the 11 of Matt Wagner, and the 171 of Robert Rock, all getting extensive repairs done to their vehicles. I do also see Andrew Schroeder as well. So those were the, Andrew Schroeder, Matt Wagner, and Robert Rock, the guys who had the most damage. I take it back. Jimmy Crow Jr. actually only had 12.37 seconds of a pit stop. So I would assume that he may have actually taken his fast repair there, or maybe the damage wasn't that extensive. But I would assume it would have been more than 12 seconds. So.
Right. Yeah, he probably went ahead and took that fast repair because it sounds like that, or maybe he even decided it was minimal and didn't want to fix anything at all. But regardless, some of these guys fixing damage, their next hope is that they can at least keep the draft. Because you don't want to burn the fast repair up in the first 10 laps of the race. You still got 65 to go. So definitely need to save those till the end. But now that we were 10 laps in, that kind of puts us on an interesting fuel strategy here, I think. So some of these guys, if they can really extend a couple of these runs, could probably make it on one less stop than what some other guys could. So I don't know what the fuel number really is. I'm assuming it's around 20 laps, Boomer.
Yeah.
Would I be correct in saying that? So if it's around 20 laps and we're coming to start lap 12 here, we're going to restart at least with on lap 13. If you can make 20 laps each run, I mean, that's pushing close to a full fuel run all the way through to the end here. So like each stop, you could make it, and toward the end of the race, you'd have just a little bit of fuel remaining. So definitely guys are probably saving up front here, probably clutching it, probably coasting a little bit just to have some insurance. But again, another caution can completely change the outlook of this. So look for guys on this restart to really race hard, not worry about the fuel too much, because they're probably looking at this being a trend like last week. Last week we didn't have any green flag stops like I mentioned earlier, and now we're kind of on that trend already, 10 laps in, and we have our first yellow. So watch for some of these guys with damage to see how they keep up, and watch these guys up front, because I think the 3 wide has only begun.
Yeah, definitely interesting for sure. I know you mentioned, we didn't have a single green flag stop, I don't believe, last week either. Interesting that we do have it here, first caution at lap number 10, so most of these guys are probably not, as of right now, going to be able to go with only 2 more stops, unless there are more yellows. So it will be interesting to see, it always is funny to see when the cautions do come out, whether they come out at the same time when you would be pitting anyway, or something like this where it completely throws off the fuel cycle. Definitely, obviously, no real differences in strategy. Everyone electing to pit here. A couple guys coming back down for a second splash of fuel here on the second lap. I think Randy Miner, Dean Wilkinson, Rick Seaburns, and Jay Hillard, as well as Todd Siebel, some of the guys that elected to come down a second time and top off a little bit more. So who knows, maybe those guys will be able to go at least one more lap more than our leaders here. Could be something interesting later on, but I think we're still not close enough to a 2-stop race. In about 5 laps we would be, but we'll have to see how it gets going here, as the pace car is going to duck off onto pit road. And according to iRacing, at this point, the leader is allowed to go at any point, but I know it's kind of the unwritten rule, if not an actual rule here at Area 51, that you would wait all the way till the you get just before the start-finish line to actually go. But I think at this point, it's really up to the leader's discretion on when they want to go at this point. And we do see the 23 of Sebastian Marin taking off now, back under green. 2 wide, double file for now, and we'll probably see some chaos here. More 3 wide coming.
Absolutely. And, you talk about these restarts, going closer to the green. Really and truthfully, these guys can go as soon as that pace car pulls off. But at a plate track, you're not going to gain much doing that, because if you take off from the field, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get swallowed up, force 3 wide, and you're going to lose all those spots. See, it's really the strategy here at the Super Speedways to actually go on the green flag so everybody stays tight together so nobody gets a massive run on that leader.
Yeah, and that was something. Go
ahead. Go ahead. Speaking of massive runs here, we see the 78 and the 32. They're really trying to get this high side working. You got the 071 of Eric Corey pushing the 78 of Gary Kopinski up to the 32. Those 2 guys are teammates, but the 32 kind of out on an island here by himself. But Sebastian Marin trying to click off these laps led. Like I said, missed 2 races. He's trying to get every point he can get. Watch for him to be super aggressive the rest of the way. And in the back here, we're trying to see a third line form, but with 2 trucks, it's not going to be enough. They think better of it. We say 2 by 2 out of 2.
Yes, what I was going to mention earlier, you're talking about the restarts, and if you go early, sometimes you get freight trained a little bit by the pack as they come back around. And that was exactly what we saw 2 weeks ago when Richard Sanchez got his win. We saw the Team Bootnaka Esports guys starting out front, jump the restart, and by the time the TW guys and the rest of the field got there, there was just too much momentum on a green white checkered for them to they blew right by everyone else, and was able to sweep the podium for a 1-2-3 TW Motorsports finish. So definitely a bit of a game as far as when you're going to start and pick up the throttle, but definitely some consequences if you don't time it well.
Absolutely, and that was probably even just an experiment by those Bootnaka guys. They know what it takes to win. It was early in the season, probably trying something to see if it would work toward playoff time, because these guys really shine when we get in the playoffs. All of these drivers do. They have their teams established at that point. They know who they like to work with. They know who they try to avoid. And they get out there and they just put on a heck of a show those last 4 races. So, but what we're seeing right now, no real 3 wide up in the front, kind of toward mid-pack. We're seeing it a little bit. But these guys kind of trying to stay calm after that first yellow, trying to just maybe ride it out. And maybe a lot of them are focusing on that fuel number, Boomer. Remember, these guys can save fuel under green. The one truck is who I keep thinking of that's just kind of hanging out in the back, right? And I know what he's doing. Raced with him all last season as his teammate. I mean, he's back there milking the throttle, half throttle, maybe even quarter throttle at times, just letting the draft pull him, saving that fuel in case this does go green. He could be in the catbird seat, but the 32 has made a mistake here. He's let the 23 and the 78 hook back up. And the 23 actually ditching Gary to get down on the bottom. That may be just to protect both lanes here, but definitely the 23 and the 78, those trucks look very good when they're bumper to bumper. Looks like they're very compatible and make a lot of speed.
Yeah, definitely is. We were coming off the camera there looking at the number 1 of Gabe Butler, Paul Sheldon, Robert Jordan, some of those guys in the back of the pack that are just off the pack. Like you said, saving a little bit of fuel and maybe making a strategy for later for being able to extend that fuel mileage a little bit. But yeah, we see the 32 of BK Anderson pushing the 23 of Seabass to the front. Gary Slapinski leads the outside lane in that 78 cone police truck. Definitely not too many, as we do actually see Seth Groover jumping back out to the outside lane, but not too many getting that lane going just yet. Fairly calm so far, but still a little bit of 3 wide action here. Definitely a lot more space, as we've documented before. Oh, we see the 32 is going to make a move on Seabass, try and get around to lead back to the front of the pack, followed by the 057 as well of Mark Mann. That's a good move. And they're both going to get clear. Wow, jump to the bottom.
Great move by those guys. And, you know, I was going to point out while you were talking there that the 23 had really gotten out 2 or 3 truck lengths ahead of Gary there on that second lane. And I was questioning to myself, why would they, if they're wanting to control both lanes, why would they allow that big of a gap? And that's exactly the problem when you do that. These guys know how strong those Team Boot Knocker guys are, of Sebastian Marion and Gary Kopinski and Gabe Butler and Eric Laurie, JD Crow. They know how strong these guys are. So, with that being said, you give them that opening to get 2 trucks to go together. They know they won't be able to do it by themselves. But you give them 2 trucks like that, they're going to make that exact move every time. And now Sebastian, honestly, is probably deeper in traffic than he's been all race long. And now that it's 3x3x3, he's stuck, while Gary is still in a battle for the lead there. And notice Seth Groover working his way up through the field. You talked about him making that 3rd lane work. The Groover brothers have always been known to not ride in the back. They go 110% each and every lap that they're on one of these super speedway tracks. So look at the Groover Seth. He is heading to the front with Dean Wilkinson and Gabe Butler right there behind. Some good guys in that outside lane, and you can tell they're making it work as they head to the front to battle for the lead.
Yeah, definitely. As we commented before, Gabe Butler, one of the ones electing not to take a time, but he has fairly quickly here found his way towards the front of the pack, as we see a little bit of squirreliness towards maybe the 6th or 7th row there in the 24 of Jason Adams, that bright red and blue DuPont flame car. Beautiful car there as well. But yeah, we see the 02 of Seth Groover without his brother here tonight, but it does look like he is, at least in the voice chats, working with Matt Wagner. So unfortunate that his teammate for the evening, at least, already out with a little bit of damage. So he will would assume that those guys who took some damage and did not burn their fast repair are going to be just limping along for a little while until they can make their way back. It does look like, so we do have this main pack here from really about 1st through 28th. Paul Sheldon is actually the last one it looks like that we have in this main pack here. We've got a couple back there. You see Jade Hillard and Rick Seabrands by themselves, about another second or so behind that. And then Andrew Schroeder all by himself, 7 seconds back. And than some of the other guys that were in the first incident. Kind of funny wreck together, but having a run together. So we'll go back to Jimmy Crow Jr. leading, Robert Rock, Matt Wagner, and Todd Siebel. So these are some of the guys that may have a little bit of damage so far, that repaired as much as they could probably under this caution, but really just trying to save that fast repair until later in the race, I would bet. Or I would assume they're too far back to really be trying to, just simply save their cars, because there's definitely ways to do that and still keep up with the draft. But we'll have to pay attention to these guys. These guys are our only ones that are kind of in danger so far of going a lap down, as they currently ride about 13 seconds behind our leader. And we'll jump back to the front. We do actually have a new leader. That's Cody Nagels. I believe he actually led that last lap on the outside lane. So a new name I haven't seen before. So I apologize. I don't know if he's new to the league or if he's been around for years. But regardless, excited to see a name we haven't seen all season at the front of the pack so far. Leading that outside line, again being pushed by the 02 of Seth Gruber and the 55 of Dean Wilkinson, one of those TW guys, making his way to the front. Kind of, a little bit of a mixed bag as far as teammates go. We don't see the Bootnaka Esports guys lined up head to toe like we normally would. They're kind of scattered out throughout here, so a lot of different names searching for some help here tonight, and for the most part, keeping the three wide racing pretty clean. Obviously, the only incident we had so far was maybe a net code issue earlier on with Matt Wagner getting run into.
Absolutely, and you make a good point with these Bootnaka guys being separated. TW guys seem to kind of be separated a little bit too. And with newer drivers, like you talked about with the 06 there, I do believe he's a new guy. I don't recognize the name either, and I've been around for like 6 or 7 seasons now, I believe. So definitely noticed this year has been a great year as far as getting new names and new faces into the league. It's been fantastic, but there's a concern I have right now, Boomer, when you see a lot of these guys that are used to running with each other separated, and now they're pushing and running with guys that they have no clue how they race, how they react, how they move around, and we're 3 by 3 by 3 by 3 for 6-7 rows here. That can only spell out one thing, Boomer, and that's going to be trouble. So notice these guys aren't really pushing all that hard. They don't know who to push, how to push, and how hard they can push. But all it's going to take is one wrong push, and this front pack is going to be a big wad of wrecked race trucks. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And another thing here, too, we're about to that 10-lap mark again. We're just past it where these guys had their last yellow. We're about halfway through a fuel run, and we're 3 by 3 by 3. These guys are going to have to sort this out before too many more laps, if they're expected to pit under green flag conditions. The last thing you want to do is run yourself out of fuel this early in the race.
Yeah, definitely. Some new faces for sure, and excited to see them in the league. Gotta get used to running around some of these other guys. Obviously, people who have been in the league for a while might be more familiar with the racing styles of everyone else that they've been around, but still great to see these new faces, and honestly running pretty clean so far. As you mentioned, about 15 laps into this fuel cycle here, so the next 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 laps going to be looking to start evening out into probably single file lines and getting down to pit road for some fuel. We do have a couple people chiming in on the broadcast. Obviously, Dean Wilkinson, before getting in the car, said good luck, drivers. And we do have TJ George Esports here saying, let's go, George, number 99 as well. Kevin Nagels chiming in to say go, Cody. And Michelle Anderson watching BK here as well tonight. So thank you all for chiming in on the broadcast. Really appreciate you guys watching tonight, and excited to see you here, and hope you're having a good time tonight.
Absolutely love seeing the fans chime in here. Some of the drivers pre-race chiming in. Some team owners with TJ George, the sponsor of Area 51 last season, and kind of just running some on and off races throughout some of the series this season. Glad to see those guys back in the field a little bit. And it's getting a little dicey up front here, Boomer. The Groover brother here, Seth, he is really pushing that 06 pretty hard, getting him a little bit bent out of shape. And I saw the trucks kind of scatter and then gather back up. The 23 has a great opportunity if he can push BK ahead a little bit, that he can try to move out in front of that 057 if he can get the run and take this lead back, as Gary lines back up with the 23. That is a huge development in this front pack. We finally have some teammates going. And look, the 06 moves away from Groover. Now we got Dean Wilkinson going to push that 02, and that 02 only knows how to do one thing, and that is put the foot to the floor. So watch for him to really race up, see if he can clear for the lead soon.
Yeah, we see the 06 also jumping down, starting to get a little more organized, as I'm sure we are going to be getting to green flag stops here within the next couple laps. Pretty much if you can't get to the lead by now, you got to find that hole in the bottom lane and try and keep your way at the front of the pack, as we do actually see the Team Bootnacker guys heading to pit road this time. Looks like Sebastian Marin, Gary Slapinski, Joe Delavecchia. Oh, a little bit of lockup there from looks like maybe Gary Slapinski. We'll have to see. Hopefully not a penalty there, but Sebastian Marin, Gary Slapinski, JD Crow, Joe Delavecchia, Eric Laurie, Gabe Butler, Rick Severance, and Robert Jordan all making their way onto pit road this time by. So we will see. There is still quite a few laps left, so they're definitely, I think, locking themselves into 3 more stops. Maybe their final stop being a bit of a splash and go, so we'll have to see here how it plays out, but they're only pitting 18 laps here after that last caution, as we do see the 23 of Sebastian Marin is going to lead this pack back on the track. Jumping back to the action, we'll see who also splits, and Seth Gruber is going to lead.
Almost the whole field coming.
Yeah, just about. The 057 locking up a little bit. Everyone trying to get down to pit road speed and kind of quiet down a little bit. 02, the 057, the 97, 32, and 06 here in the view. Looks like at least half of our field here stopping this time by, being led by Mark Mann, Cody Nagels, Vincente Guerrero, BK Anderson, Seth Groover, some of the guys coming down pit road this time by. We'll have Noel Cowers actually picking up the lead with Donald Kendrick behind him. They're all by themselves, about 2.5 seconds ahead of Brandon Briggs and about 20 seconds ahead of Robert Rock, Matt Wagner, and Todd Siebels, that group at the back of the pack, or the back of the track, really, that were slower from damage in the first caution. So interesting to see here, as these guys look like only one of them are actually going to come down pit road this time by. So definitely going to leave Noel here all by himself as Donald Kendrick and Brandon Briggs come to pit road this time by. Interesting to see here. I think that's going to be an unfortunate circumstance for Noel here, as really he's going to be all by himself and losing a lot of time, I think, on this next lap. So unfortunate for him to not have any teammates here. But we do also see Robert Rock, Matt Wagner, and Todd Siebels are the others that have stayed out so far. Again, highlighting that these are some of the guys that were involved in the first accident and maybe have a little bit of damage riding in the back of the pack with themselves so far.
Absolutely. And those are the guys that this green flag run is really going to hurt, is those guys that were in that wreck earlier. They were hoping for a caution so that they could get caught back up, repair even more of that damage, or finally take that fast repair. But now they're almost going to just have to bite the bullet here and just be able to run with what they got. And they may go a lap down, but they're going to have to hope when a caution comes out they can take a wave around, as we see a couple of those guys, all of them coming back down
aggressively. Matt almost passing the 171, but so the field, Sebastian Marin, who is our current leader, is actually only 10 seconds behind these guys. So as of right now, this lead pack was almost completely caught up to those 3 that just pitted, which will probably put them at least a lap down, I would say, by the time they come off of pit road. Maybe at least probably a half a track back at minimum. So definitely unfortunate for them, as they're still on pit road while the leaders here are coming down the backstretch. So definitely by the time they get up to speed, we'll be probably pretty close to going a lap down. But we do see the 23 of Sebastian Marin picking back up with the race lead, followed by his teammate, the 5 of JD Crow, on that inside lane. The 02 and the 06, Seth Groover and Cody Nagels, picking back up where they left off. And it does look like we actually had Gary Slapinski. It looks like he actually made his way. I don't know if he must have had a speeding penalty, I believe, there. Looks like, yeah. So as I'm reading this, it looks like Robert Jordan, Gary Slapinski, and Donald Kendrick all going a lap down on that last pit cycle. Both Robert Jordan and Gary Slapinski spending over 40 seconds in their pit box, which I would believe would be some sort of pit road violation, whether that's too fast entering or speeding down pit road, or maybe an unsafe pit exit. So unfortunate, as we saw the 78 being collected as one of the lap cars from this field. So he will now be racing with Robert Jordan. They're both in this pack here. That'll be our lucky dog battle that we will have to pay attention here in this front pack.
Absolutely. And, I noticed on those first set of pit stops when the boot knocker guys came down, we pointed out that Gary had a little bit of a lockup on entry, but I noticed when everybody else exited, I did not see the 78 pulling out, and it wasn't normal for him to lose those couple of spots. He should have been right with the 23, so my indication there was that they held him in the pits for a certain amount of time over speeding on entry. So that would be my guess. Super unfortunate. We talked about him being kind of up front in the points. That's going to be killer if this race continues to go green. But for somebody like Sebastian Marin that's needing a good run, here he is in second, pushing Seth Groover in that 02. I told you that guy only knows one speed, and that is to put the pedal down to the floor. And here he is leading this field after green flag pit stops.
Yeah, definitely finding a few of some new friends here at the front of the field, but definitely great to see Seth running up front here. Again, we get the 06 of Cody Nagels also running up front. Some of the guys you don't normally see up at the front of the pack. Obviously, the 23 of Sebastian Marin, very well versed here at the front of the field, so excited to see these guys all running up front. We do have a pack of about 14 drivers here in this first group, with a couple cars that we already highlighted that are one lap down, battling for the lucky dog spot. So as it sits right now, Seth Groover, Cody Nagels, Sebastian Marin, BK Anderson, JD Crow, Vicente Guerrero, Joe Della Vecchia, Bud Steele, Dean Wilkinson, Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie, Donald Stewart, Robert DuPont, and Mark Mann are your top 14. These guys are running in this pack that you see. We do also have, it looks like, Robert Jordan and Gary Slapinski here in this pack that are one lap down, as we will also probably pick up Keith Horner as well as a lap car. So there'll be 3 cars in this pack that are going to be one lap down. Back about 9 seconds back, we'll jump back to Jay Hillard, currently leading this group. Some of the few of the TW Motorsports guys at least, but Jay Hillard, Taylor Toller, Michael Spell, Andy Brigante, and David Overstreet here, and Randy Miner in this group of 6 cars. Again, they are about 9 to 10 seconds back from the leader, so definitely unfortunate to have lost that main draft. We do also have another group. There's Noel here in the 15. Noel Cowers, we mentioned that he had to pit by himself after everyone kind of left him out to dry, so kind of quiet for him, and unfortunate to fall so far behind the lead pack after that incident. Well, not really an incident, but just an unfortunate circumstance. He is being carried by Paul Sheldon, Brandon Briggs, and Jason Adams in this group. So the other group we do see another 9 or 10 seconds back is this group of 4 cars, with the 31 of 5 cars, excuse me, Rick Sebring, Matt Wagoner, Todd Siebels, Robert Rock, and William George as well, I believe, in this pack. I should take it back. I think there's one lap car down in this pack here too, the 39 of Jimmy Crow Jr., yeah.
Absolutely. So we see this field really divided up after green flag pit stops, and that's what green flag pit stops do. You still see a main pack, and more times than not, these guys can all stay together. But this really separates some guys, and something we need to notice as we were going through the field, this 78 is taking no prisoners. He's pushing that 14 up to the front, and now he's leading the second line. He's going to get this lap back the hard way. He's going to try to get up here and start leading some laps and hope for a yellow, so he don't even have to have that lucky dog battle with the 70 truck in here. And here he goes with the 55 of Dean Wilkinson pushing. Maybe Gary can clear and try to lead this race. And if I'm one of these lead lap cars, I'm going to let him, because I can still lead the race and be able to save a little bit of fuel running behind him. So it's kind of a good thing. You can kind of stay behind like the 14 is right now, as Gary has unlapped himself, and kind of be able to manage your truck a little bit and save some for the end here. And for Gary, it's a winning situation because it can get him on the lead lap. And instead of starting tail end of the longest line, if he gets the caution while he's up front, and that's a big while he's up front, then he can actually restart with all the lead lap trucks on the next restart. So huge for that 78 to stay up front.
Huge advantage here if he can manage to stay in front if we were to get a caution to come out. Another one that's rooting for him is probably this 37 of Keith Horner as well. You can see him, the 5th car in the Hooters truck on the outside line behind Bud Steele in the 6. He is definitely going to be the one that's also going to be hoping for Gary Slapinski to get his lap back naturally. Keith now being scored as the first car 1 lap down, with Gary Slapinski effectively being the last car on the lead lap on the front row. So that'll flip back and forth here about 1,000,000 times before we do actually get a yellow. So it'll be interesting we'll have to keep an eye on it for now, but definitely Gary trying to do whatever he can to lead this pack and stay up front in order to pit with the leaders under the next caution if one were to fly. So we are currently working on lap number 39, so just over halfway done here tonight, and looking for at least 2 more pit stops here. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get another yellow, but for the most part we've been pretty quiet here. Like we already highlighted, lots of spaced out packs, and I guess tell us how difficult it may be for some of these guys that are spaced out in the packs that are 10, 15, 20 seconds behind the leader. Maxwell, how difficult might it be for those guys to catch back up if there is no caution?
Well, there's strength in numbers, Boomer, and when you got 4 trucks versus 20, you don't really have a whole lot of strength there. So if you fall off of this pack, or if you're definitely like those guys with damage, you are absolutely begging for a yellow flag to come out. You don't care how, you don't care when. You're almost willing to spin yourself if you're one of those guys just to try to get that yellow to get you on the lead lap. So they're not going to gain it naturally. This pack up here has too many good drivers in it, too many trucks with no damage on them, and they're creating a heck of a draft right now with some major speed. So these leaders swapping around as much as they aren't slowing the pack down. It's actually helping them do some leapfrogging and actually speed up a little bit. And there has also been known to be speed when you run side by side. Instead of the side draft hurting you, it helps just to pull each truck farther and farther ahead. So it actually helps gain you maybe a mile per hour or 2. So definitely those guys in the back, I don't want to say they're no hope, but they're no hope without a yellow. So they're definitely looking for it. And we see the 78 up here. The 55 had gotten clear. 78 taking no prisoners. He's got to fight this entire race until that yellow comes out to get that lead lap back. And he just asserted himself up here, kind of with the push of the 0-2, but I mean, just absolutely in one straightaway cleared and came right back down. So 78 fighting really hard, but we're 2x2. We don't see a lot of that 3 wide anymore, Boomer. So these guys kind of calming down a little bit. And really, we should be just a few laps away from pit stops once again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see here soon. So going back to what you had said earlier about the speed difference, not a huge difference in speed from the front of the pack to some of the second and third packs. We did actually see, so the last time by, Seth Groover leading this current pack ran a 51.50. We do see probably about 3 to 4 tenths drop off actually for the second pack, about 14 seconds behind them. Michael Spell ran a 51.87, so about 4 tenths of a second slower as well. And we got a pack that's 28 seconds behind our leaders. Jason Adams leading that pack ran a 52.69, so over a second slower than this lead pack. But those guys, Michael Spell, Jay Hillard, David Overstreet, Randy Minor, Taylor Toller, Andy Brigante, able to gain a little bit of speed, only being somewhere between 3 to 4 tenths behind the leaders, which shouldn't put them in too bad of a spot. But with the group led by Jason Adams right now, I mean, over a second slower a lap, that's definitely going to make a huge difference as far as potentially getting trapped a lap down, seeing that they're almost 30 seconds behind the leader as it sits. So definitely those guys looking to see if they can either get more organized and push single file, or try and wait for a caution here.
Absolutely, and just to put it in perspective here, Boomer, you said that second pack is about 0.4 seconds off. As we do see pit stops, I'll come back to that. We got pit stops here and major lockup with one of the drivers here as they come down pit road.
Yeah, it looked like the 5 of JD Crow locking it up. But yeah, most of the Bootnaka Esports guys, Sebastian Mir and JD Crow, Eric Laurie and Gabe Butler on pit road, as well as Joe Della Vecchia and Robert DuPont. So definitely some strategy here. You absolutely cannot make it all the way. So they're kind of splitting the last of this race up into 3 segments here, pitting about every 15 laps or so. So we'll see these guys again being led by Sebastian Marin off of pit road. We'll see if the rest of the pack is going to answer, picking back up the lead with Dean Wilkinson here in the 55.
Absolutely. We'll see this time by. Yes, here comes some TW guys. Here comes a lot of the pack. Shocked the 78 didn't come with him. Groover really locking up. He's going to have an unsafe pit entry going in the grass there. This could be big for Seth Groover here as they come down pit road.
Yeah, he's actually still in the grass, but we did actually see the 78 of Gary Stupinski did come down this time with the rest of the group. So Cody Nagels, Mark Mann, Vicente Guerrero, Bud Steele, Seth Groover, Dean Wilkinson, Andrew Schroeder, and Gary Stupinski, some of the drivers in this time. So we'll see how they come off. Obviously kind of the answer to the Bootnaka guys coming in last lap, so everyone kind of splitting this race into 3 stints at the end here. We'll actually pick back up with our now leaders of the Michael Spell, Jay Hillard, and David Overstreet group. Now they will be leading the pack about 6 cars here.
And honestly, if I'm them, I'm coming down pit road this time. The longer you stay out, you're just going to continue to lose time to these other guys. So if they're smart here, they're going to go ahead and bring her on down pit road. But it looks like they're going to stay out for yet another lap, maybe hoping for a yellow. But typically, once you see these guys get on and off pit road, the yellow is kind of really far-fetched to see here unless somebody spins it off pit road. But once they get back going, you're really not gaining anything. You're just hurting yourself a little bit more.
Right, we've definitely seen some guys spin on their out laps. Tires are cold, and especially if you put new tires on, they're going to be really cold getting back to this pack. So interesting to see. Obviously, these guys haven't answered the call for the first 2 groups pitting 2 and 3 laps ago. But would you think that these guys would have any chance to stretch the fuel out to 2 more pit stops? I think we would have been at, 45 laps after the last restart. Do you think that would be the, not the last restart, sorry, the last pit cycle? Do you think that they could stretch 45, 47 laps on 2 tanks of gas?
Possibly. Here's my call on it. I think they have no other shot. Maybe they're thinking other than to do something different, which I'm all for. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work and you finish about where you're at. You're already at the back. So they're going to try to maybe milk these runs out and really try to make them stretch as far as possible. But my worry is the time loss they're going to have. I believe this was the pack that we said was already 0.4 a lap off, right?
These guys were actually, I believe, a second off.
Okay.
So no, you're right. This was the second pack. Yep, half a second off. Yep.
So if that's the case, they were already losing time anyway. Out here on these older tires and with such a small pack and the other group in such a big pack, they're going to continue losing more time as they come down pit road. So I'm afraid if they try to pull this strategy, what's going to happen is they're going to end up going a lap down before they can make it work. So that's going to be the big struggle there.
Yeah, we'll have to see. They did have a 15-second lead over now Jason Adams, who will pick up the race lead as we see him actually coming down this time by with Paul Sheldon, Brandon Briggs, and Noel Cowers as well. So Mark Mann is actually going to, I apologize. Cody Nagels and Mark Mann are going to be our leaders now. Cody leading the inside lane after this pit cycle, so definitely a bit of a leapfrog for some of those guys. You see some of the guys that came down on the second pit stop actually ahead of the guys from the first pit stop. So Cody Nagels managing to run a very clean race here, staying up at the front, leading that inside line. Oh, it gets turned. Oh, unfortunate. That is so unfortunate for Cody Nagels. We are not going to see the yellow flag yet. Wow. Who was that? Mark Mann looked like he might have gotten turned a little bit after a push and came down and absolutely destroyed the 06.
Are we able to get a replay of that so we can see exactly what happened there, Boomer?
Yeah, we'll stay green, but let's go back. I should be able to grab. Let's go. We'll ride on board, see if we can get a view of the Cody Nagels crash here. If not, we can. Okay, so riding on board here with Cody. This is replay. You just see, yeah, the 57 of Mark Mann getting squirrely coming down, and that is such a heartbreak for Cody after running so strong. We were literally talking about it. Maybe, unfortunately, commentators curse there for him, and no yellow for spinning to the inside of the track on the backstretch. Looked like he was able to get it rolling again. Man, that's so unfortunate here. He's going to be currently in pit road, currently scored in the 22nd position after such a valiant effort so far. But we will jump back to our leaders here. Again, no yellow, unfortunately, for Cody's incident. I mean, really the wrong place, wrong time. You see a little bit of damage on the side of that 057 truck from the contact that was made, and it looks like BK Anderson also getting a piece of that wreck maybe as well, as he's coming back out onto the racetrack with a little bit of damage. So, man, that's heartbreak for sure.
Absolutely, and he was running so good. I gotta say, I sympathize with him running up front in some of these races last season and being the leader, and just something completely out of your control just wiping you out. For me, it was typically the last lap, turn 4, and that was very unfortunate, but I still understand the heartbreak of wrecking and not even having a yellow to take advantage of it here. And I was just going to commentate that right after that incident, all these leaders got single file and just started riding, but these lap trucks here, the 07 and the 02, kind of mingled things up. I believe is the 07 a lap down, or is he lead lap? He was with Seth Gruber. I'm assuming he just went a lap down.
Yeah, the 07 is currently being scored at least one lap down. I'm trying to find him on the ticker here.
10-4. So them two, when the leaders went to get by them, notice they picked up momentum mixing in the middle of that pack, and now the leaders are back single file, but it kind of jumbled them up a little bit.
Yeah.
So not a lot of a lead pack anymore after 2 green flag pit stops. And we talked earlier, right? We talked about that big pack versus the second pack we had the last run. Something I want to point out before it gets too far in. You said they were only 0.4 seconds off a lap, and that didn't seem like much, right? Well, if you take a fuel run, which is, I'd put it as 20 laps, because I think these guys could push close to 18 to 20 laps on fuel if they wanted. So if you did that and you were 0.4 off a lap, that would be a 8-second difference over the course of that one run, which is huge here. That's almost a fifth of the racetrack that you would be behind in just one fuel run. So definitely got to make sure you're within a tenth of a second if you're a second pack trying to gain on some of these leaders. But
yeah, sure.
I don't know what the gaps are now. Maybe we can try to go through the field in just a moment and see the different packs. So, but definitely seen a lot of split up stuff and probably a lot more single file now after 2 green flag stops.
Yeah, so something I want to highlight here, you actually see the way it's shown. We've got Seth Gruber, Robert DuPont, and Gary Slapinski at the front of what is really the lead pack here. Those 3 guys are actually fighting to stay on the lead lap and 1 lap down. So as it sits, the 02 of Seth Gruber is the second to last car on the lead lap. The 78 of Gary Slapinski is the last car on the lead lap. And the 07 of Robert DuPont is the last car 1 lap down. So if they were behind our leader of JD Crow, they would be 1 and 2 laps down respectively. Seth and Gary 1 lap down. Robert DuPont being 2 laps down. So because they are ahead of the leader, they stay on the lead lap and 1 lap down for Robert DuPont. So interesting here, JD Crow helping his teammate of Gary Slapinski there, being pushed to really not the race lead, but to the front of the leader, JD himself, followed by Vicente Guerrero, to be able to be in that that last spot on the lead lap. So as you mentioned, Maxwell, we will go a little bit through the field here. Obviously, we've got our lead pack, so really the only the top 8 guys are in this pack. So we see a lot of these. This lead pack is really picking up steam from a lot of cars that are, or trucks, I should say, a lap down. But The guys in this pack are Vicente Guerrero, or JD Crow is leading it. Vicente Guerrero, Mark Mann, Eric Laurie, Joe Della Vecchia, Gabe Butler, Sebastian Marin, and Donald Stewart. That is your top 8 as they run. So those are the guys who are riding, or watching Donald Stewart in the Gravedigger 97 truck here. So Donald Stewart is the last one in this pack that is on the lead lap. We'll go about 18 seconds back. We see this pack with Michael Spell, Jay Hillard, Taylor Toller, Randy Miner, and David Overstreet. So these 5 guys are currently 18 seconds back from the leaders, but still on the lead lap. They do have at least one TW Motorsports guy in here that is 1 lap down. I think, yeah, Dean Wilkinson there is currently scored 2 laps down at the back of this pack. Behind them, we've got Andy Brigante kind of by himself. Looks like he's got Bud Steele and the 70 of Robert Jordan with him as well. On the lead lap, but now 36 seconds back from the lead pack. And then the next group of cars is led by Brandon Briggs in the 63, Robert Rock, Todd Siebels, Paul Sheldon, No Cowers, and Jason Adams. These guys are now 42 seconds back, or about 10 seconds ahead of the leader, and just about everyone else is in the lead pack, or some of the lap cars, again, as you mentioned, mixed in throughout these packs. So we'll jump back to our leaders as we now see the action coming back to 3 wide. Remember, these first 3 guys on the inside line are all fighting to stay 1 lap or no laps down, so at the tail end of the lead lap or the tail end of 1 lap down. So interesting that this lead pack has picked up so many lap cars. We do also have the 11 of Matt Wagner in here too. You see him in the black unmarked truck in the middle. Seth Groover gets a push. He gets pushed out of line. He is going to recover, it looks like, but man, that is such an unfortunate event for him. He is going to go 1 lap down and probably then some.
Absolutely. You know, this front pack, as we were going through the field, about had a caution, I thought. We saw the 5 and the 78 go up to block a huge run that the 31 had with Wagner pushing, and I thought they were going to get in the fence, but they all gathered it up, kind of killed some momentum for them. But now that they gather it back up, like you said, a lot of these lap cars trying to fight for their lap back. And, you know, a lot of these leaders are like, you know what, y'all have at it. Y'all can get up there. JD Crow is trying to keep them from getting all their laps back. But other than that, the rest of these guys are kind of trying to get one of their lap backs. And I wanted to circle back on something here, Boomer. Did I miss something with the 32? One of our front runners all night long, now 2 laps down, and in this front pack. Did he have a pit road violation or something during that last set of pit stops?
I think he actually was caught up in the incident when the 06 was taken out. Didn't unfortunately have a good view of it, and didn't really have a way to go back and view it either. But I'm looking here right now. It does show that his last pit time was about 57 seconds. So I think what I believe happened was he had a little bit of damage from that accident, and unfortunately probably some required repairs there. Back on track, but as you said, being currently scored 2 laps down. There are a couple other trucks. I think, yeah, Robert DuPont and BK Anderson are in this lead pack fighting to get back onto the 1 lap down. So those 2 guys are in this pack now, 2 laps down. Obviously, you see the 32 kind of back at the end of this pack now, really probably just laying around. We do actually forget to mention that 18 laps to go. The fuel window is now open, and we're going to see a lot of our lead pack. Oh, is Sebastian Marin maybe an unsafe pit entrance?
I think the 23 might have sped, and if he hit that cone, it's unsafe.
Okay, well,
huge penalty here.
Yeah, we'll see. Have to watch that. See if he gets held for 40 seconds here. But the 057 of Mark Mann, JD Crow, Sebastian Marin, Vicente Guerrero, Joe Della Vecchia, Eric Laurie, Donald Stewart, and Gabe Butler all leading this race, and or at least were our leaders as they came down for their final pit stop of the night. Again, trying to break this last segment up, and he is up and away, the 23, so maybe no penalty. Maybe got into his box or got into pit road okay, so we'll have to see if he has to come back in and serve a pass-through or a stop and hold.
Wow, if he did not get a penalty, I have no idea how, because he was all sorts of locked up, almost in the grass. and I could have swore he sped on entry unless he really backed it down coming down pit road itself. You can do that if you miss that entry just a little bit with the timing zones. If you'll back your speed down 4 or 5 miles an hour under speed limit for just a minute, sometimes you can recover it. Because remember, pit road is time over distance. So those little speed traps or speed zones throughout pit road, if you speed a little bit on the entry, you can kind of back it off and go from there. But the 23 really getting up behind the 057 and having a problem. I don't see him coming down pit road, so maybe he recovered from that. I'll have to check in on that when the race is over and ask about that. But that was crazy.
Currently, we are actually picking up our race leader right now of Michael Spell. Again, some of these guys pitting last at lap 47, so pitting later than pretty much anyone else in the field. But we do have Michael Spell, Jay Hillard, and Taylor Toller now leading the pack with Randy Miner, David Overstreet as well in this pack. We've got a couple of lap cars towards the back. Looks like Keith Horner and Seth Gruber at the back of this pack. So we'll see when these guys answer the call. We did see, I think 3 races ago, a bit of a strategy where I think it was Gary Slapinski, Keith Horner, and actually Kyle Heath even were able to break out as 3 cars stay out the longest and pit towards the end of the race, just put a splash of fuel in to get to the end of the race and managed to actually stay ahead of the lead pack. So we'll see if they can do that again here tonight. But different guys that would be trying it, at least, with Randy Miner and Michael Spell currently leading this race in the pack that we are currently showing here. So definitely got a comment here from Kyle Heath, as we just mentioned, able to pull off that strategy a couple weeks ago, but wasn't able to join the race tonight. So we definitely are bummed to not see you racing, but appreciate you at least chiming into the broadcast. And we did see also Cody Nagel's checked out, looks like, of the infield care center and chiming in the chat saying, well, that was unfortunate. Definitely a situation well beyond your control, Cody, and sorry to see it tonight. Definitely have to keep in mind how much of a great effort it was up until the point of contact and the damage, but unfortunate for him tonight for sure.
And he is still actually out on track, 9 laps down, but we got some guys coming off pit road here, trying to cycle up through the pack. And I've got my eye, you've got your eyes on the leader, I got my eyes on this big pack here of the soon-to-be leaders. Whenever these initial group of Michael Spell and the boys here pit, they're 3x3 here right now, and they're mixed with lap cars that are 9 laps down, 2 laps down, 1 lap down. You got leaders up here. It's all sorts of a mixture, and they're getting racy. They know this is for the race win back in this pack. So definitely got a lot of action here right now. And notice who's kind of up toward the front of that pack. The one truck of Gabe Butler. I told you, he starts in the back, saves a little fuel, tries to stay out of trouble. He's got some rear end damage, which may have even happened in that incident with the 06, with maybe some accordion going on. I don't know. But definitely didn't get his 0X for some bonus points tonight. But here he is, points leader, trying to make his way up to the front and trying to win a race tonight.
Oh, we have some smoke here. We got a yellow. Brandon Briggs crashed. So this is probably what these guys in this second pack were exactly what they were hoping for, at least, because they will come down. So Joe Della Vecchia currently being scored in the 6th position. Only 5 drivers that were not in, had not pit yet. So Randy Miner, Michael Spell, Jay Hillard, Taylor Toller, and David Overstreet. Fortunate enough, they will be able to pit here under caution. Only our second caution of the night. Let's see if we can bring it back, though, to the moment that the yellow was thrown out. Shows that Brandon Briggs had crashed. And okay, so maybe an incident here where we talked about earlier, cold tires on the pit exit. I think, unfortunately not taking tires this time by for Brandon Briggs, but there's a little bit of tire wear as it goes throughout the race, and sometimes it's just enough if you get the truck a little bit light in the back end to get loose and turn it around. So obviously the yellow being thrown, oh wow, as he just barely got off the track in time for our leaders there. That is crazy, but because he came back onto the racing surface, throwing that yellow here and giving us what will probably maybe not be our last caution of the night, but an opportunity for a couple guys to make their pit stops.
Absolutely. And one comment I'll make there is that may have to be a review this week of the race. Admins typically don't like when you just hit the brakes on track and wait for a yellow, especially when leaders are up front. But these guys pitting right now, this is their lucky break. Now, you can sit here and say they're unfortunate because they're going to start behind a bunch of guys. But at the same time, if we went green, they were what? Over 20 seconds back, possibly?
Yeah,
I mean, they
definitely.
were pretty far off the lead. So this cycles them back. They're still on the lead lap. This gets them 4 fresh tires, even if they want it. Where these other guys are on really old tires, it gets them all the fuel in the world they could want. And it gets them grouped together with the guys that they were 18, 20 plus seconds behind and gives them a chance with, when we restart, less than 10 to go after a win. There was really only 5 guys in the running earlier.
Yeah, so we'll
We had
see.
guys 16 seconds back. We had multiple groups that were just really 10 plus seconds back that had no chance. Now here they are, reset with just a few laps to go, and they have a chance. You give these drivers in Area 51 a chance, and let me tell you, they're going to take it. So this is going to be very interesting, Boomer. I don't know that we're done with cautions. This is only our second one, but I might expect to see 1 or 2 more. These guys are going to go 3 and maybe even 4 wide to try to get that victory here at Talladega tonight.
It'll be interesting to see for sure. A couple guys electing to take 4 tires there. Jay Hillard and Andy Brigante. Probably the only 2 that really took 4 tires that came down that pit stop. But everyone there getting a chance to top off. Obviously, we already mentioned some of these guys being led now by Joe Della Vecchia and Vicente Guerrero. Not needing to pit as they made their final stop at lap number 58. So they will definitely have an opportunity to finish this race pitting with about 17 laps to go. So we do see a couple guys that did get lucky here. There is, right in front of them, we've got the 24 truck of Jason Adams. So this is going to put him, I believe, back 1 lap down, if not on the lead lap. But these 3 trucks that you see here, the 37 of Keith Horner, the 99 of, don't remember his name yet, so I apologize. I'm looking for it. See if I can find it. That's William George. My apologies, William. So Keith Horner, William George, and the 24 of Jason Adams all going to get a free lap back here, I believe, if they stay out. And actually, no, the 37 and the 99 are going to pit, so only the 24 of Jason Adams, who last pit on lap 61, made his final pit stop. He is going to get a freebie wave around here to make his way towards, I believe, shows him as 2 seconds behind the leader under pace speed, so I believe he will be back on the lead lap by the time he gets around. So I would assume 1 lap down, or back on the lead lap, as he's maybe 1 lap down right now, and the pace car finally lets him go. Lights are off. We're going to go 1 to go. Get the 1 to go from the pace truck, and we are going to be going back to green with 9 laps remaining.
Absolutely. And, there were some guys that this was very unfortunate for. The guys that had raced their way onto the lead lap and were trying to battle, but just through green flag pit stops did not exactly have that track position just yet. The 78, the 02, which we saw him have a little bit of trouble anyway, but just some of those guys that had been in the race running up front and ahead of the leaders, trying to stay on the tail end of that lead lap. Unfortunately, we're behind them when this caution came out. So now, with just a few laps left, even if they do get on the lead lap, I don't know that they have enough time to try to race for the lead. So the 78 is really who I'm looking at. Unfortunate for him, just as high up points as he is, it's going to be a little bit of a hit as he is currently scored in the 21st position. But we've got some new players up front. The 052 was up there earlier in the race, kind of hung back a little bit. Now he's back. The 14's been up there as far as the latter half of this race. The 057's been up there all race long, but the 1 truck of Gabe Butler there in 3rd, watching him as he's got teammate J.D. Crow behind him with another boot knocker teammate, Sebastian Marin, on the outside. And Eric Laurie also with him there in the 071. So 3 boot knocker guys all in line on the bottom. The 052 of Joe Della Vecchia, he better stay up front because he's got a lot of hungry drivers behind him. And if you don't think that 23 wants a win to try to help him solidify some spots to try to get in that top 8, you better think again. That man can make moves. I've seen it plenty of times. This is going to be action-packed to the end, Boomer. I can't wait to call these last 9 laps with you.
Yeah, it'll be exciting for sure. We will see the Ford Mustang pace car pull onto the pit road. And we will wait patiently as these trucks will drive through the tri-oval at pace speeds, up to the leader's discretion as to when he wants to get going. Looks like he's going to wait at least halfway through the tri-oval. Beautiful shot here of all of these cars as we are going to make our way back to the green flag. Green flag flying with, again, the 052 of Joe Dellavecchia leading the field. With 9 laps to go, we do have Vicente Guerrero to his outside in third place, but it looks like we got a little discombobulated there, a little broken up, and we're actually going to get some single file action here from our leaders. The one truck of Gabe Butler being promoted to, well, he was in third, but now second in line on the inside. We do see a couple teammates. The 5 is going to be pushed by the 23 of Sebastian Marin all the way to the outside, see if he can get even with our leaders here and maybe pick up this this race lead. But definitely a lot of those Bootnaka Esports teammates here in the front, as you already mentioned. So definitely a little bit of a separation here from this maybe front 8 or so to the pack, but I'm sure those guys behind him will catch up quickly.
Absolutely. In that 052, that separation was caused. He jumped it about a half second before the green came out, which is his discretion. He's able to do that, and fortunately for now, it's worked out for him. What happened, he got a lot of those drivers single file to follow him instead of just jumping up, and when they did jump, they all jumped together, and it killed a lot of their momentum. So the 052 lucked out with that restart, helping him keep the lead, but now he's got 3x3 starting to form behind him. As some of these guys are all jumping out. It's the end of the race, Boomer. It's time to go for it. You can't sit back anymore, but you do have 2 teammates there with J.D. Crow and the 23 of Sebastian Marin. They're hooked up together. They made a good move on the outside. Wait for them to get momentum from that 14 to try to get them propelled over here down the back stretch or front stretch here as we come into the tri-oval. They're getting ready to try to make a run with Gabe Butler there. Shockey hasn't moved up just yet.
Watching the action from the top of the 5 of J.D. Crow, now being pushed first guy in the middle lane here by his teammate, the 23 of Sebastian Marin. Definitely a bit of a hornet's nest here. We're going to see how this action goes, but with 7 laps to go, it's pretty much all bets are off, and we're going to see a lot of action, I'm sure.
Look at this huge run from the 5 and 23. They finally got that run off turn 2. They're going to be side by side with the leader here as they head off into 3. And the 14 is going to kill their momentum, moving to the top 3 wide. Notice how much that pulled JD. In the
oh, we got a wreck.
Back.
We got a wreck.
We got a yellow.
Wow. Big
that
wreck
almost
from
looked like
about
a netcode hit, Boomer.
Yeah, from about 15th on back. Not even sure who is in that yet. Looking like maybe Bud Steele, Brandon Briggs, William George, Jason Adams, maybe BK Anderson getting collected again. Let's see if we can take you back to the moment of caution. We'll try and get a good view of that for you here as we bring it back down to the pace speeds. But looks at the action kind of starting with the 33 here. So we're going to pause this. We'll rewind a little bit. Let's try and pick up the 33, and you know what, let's see what we can do. Let's ride on board with him here. Some slow motion action as you see him getting a little bit, making a little bit of contact with a 955 of, I believe, Andy Brigante on the inside, and then all sorts of chaos. Looks like all sorts of cars getting involved here.
Looks like just
24,
a bad push from that 78.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's go back to the 78 truck and see if we can watch his viewpoint from that yellow flag as well. So he is, apologize, we'll take a second to rewind it again here. So yeah, bit of a big, let's pick the TV2 view here, go on board. So we do see, actually almost looks like the 33 getting a little bit wobbly all by himself. So yeah,
just a lot of air taken off the rear of that truck. You saw how packed he was around trucks all around him, and just got loose. And maybe it was a netcode bump. You never know. Trucks typically don't get that loose, but if he was on really old tires, it probably could have stepped out on him there and just caused major piles up with lots of drivers here. And Gary, second in points, now going to have incident points on top of that penalty. Just a rough night for that 78, a one to forget for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We'll jump back live here. Kyle Heath mentioning that Matt. Oh no, after the last caution, this is about to get intense, and indeed you are correct, sir. 5 laps to go here now. Not too much of a shakeup for the front of our pack. We do see Joe Delavecchia still leading, followed by Gabe Butler, JD Crow, Mark Mann, and Sebastian Marin in your top 5. We'll round out our top 10, as well as in 6 we do have Vicente Guerrero, David Overstreet, Hilliard, Robert Rock recovering from that first accident, maybe finally taking his fast repair, getting up here. And we also have Noel Cowers as well. Big move for both of these guys. And remember, earlier in the race, Noel actually had to pit from the lead by himself with no help. Was in one of those packs that were maybe 20 to 30 seconds behind the leader, and definitely able to overcome that here as we see him in the top 10. So a big recovery for him, and hopefully a good points night for him as well. So excited to see him and Robert Rock make their way towards the front of the field after incidents earlier in this race. So we will see. It looks like we do have lights still back on the pace car, so we are going to take a second here and jump to caution, and we will be back in just a few moments.
All right, coming back here, getting ready to take the green flag as drivers are side by side on the backstretch. Couple of things to note here. Some guys having really good recoveries here late. Guys we thought might have been out of it. My eyes are on that 0-2 of Seth Groover. Had the unfortunate incident, went a lap down when he was off pit road there with an unsafe entry. Then we saw him get loose on the bottom when he was battling to be on the lead lap, and we thought he was down and out. These cautions have helped bring him back in. He's going to restart P14 pretty far back, but he's got a chance. Got some guys like Matt Wagner, Bud Steele, only 1 lap down. Maybe they can get another caution to get those back. Fight for that lucky dog. But up front, we got Joe Delavecchia still taking the point here with Gabe Butler and JD Crow right there on his heels. Boomer, we got just a couple laps left to go here. It's going to be down to the wire.
Absolutely. This is going to be exciting here. We'll see the pace car pull off, and we'll have to wait and see what kind of games we're going to play as we get back to the restart here. Joe Delavecchia again leading the field all the way back through the tri-oval, through the very, very long wait to the start-finish line, which is in the short chute between the tri-oval and turn number 1. But we will see here as pick up the moment that they decide to pick up the throttle. And
outside line stacking up really big on this restart. The 0-2 of Seth Groover taking the point. Look at him getting a couple spots here early. Slides right back in line there. Great restart for that 0-2 when they checked up. Sorry to interrupt you there, Boomer, but
no,
that was
good.
intense.
Yeah, exciting to see. We'll definitely see these guys try to get all 3 lanes working, as it looks like Vicente Guerrero is going to be the first one to try and jump out to that outside line. Oh, we do have
we got
a
a
wreck.
wreck again.
Oh, man, the 071 so far, the 55, we're still wrecking here. So no change to our leaders up front. The 052, the 5, the 23, and the 1 all getting through, but let's see if we can take you back through the moment of action. And Kyle Heath, you called it earlier, and it just keeps getting worse, buddy. Definitely some excitement going on here at the end of this race. I believe we're going to definitely come down to a green-white checkered here, but let's see if we can take it back to our yellow flag here. May have to play with some cameras here, but yeah, we do see them already wrecking at this point. Apologies, I can only go back to what SDK, the app, tells me is an actual caution. So we'll have to play with the cameras here and see if we can get to the point of caution. We did see it looked like the 24. Yeah, the 24 of Jason Adams was rejoining the pack, but I don't think he was involved. So let's try to go quarter speed here and see if we can see who actually. So we saw Vicente Guerrero jumping out of line to get to the outside lane, and not a ton of action. Looks like Seth Groover also making his way there with him. We'll pause it for just a second, bring it to focus on the back of the pack here, see if we can resume slow motion. And we see the 14 and the 02 trying to make their way. Oh, I think I can see it coming right here. Looks like the 59 tries to follow the 14. Yep, there it is. 59 tries to follow behind the 14, squishes the 02 into the fence. And you can see the chaos here. We've got the 45 making a little contact with the 59. The 071 already sideways. The 15 sideways. We'll keep it rolling here. 02 getting more damage. 15 almost going over on his lid. The 88 sliding down to avoid. And the 59 coming back up the track again to make contact with the 55. The 07 of Robert DuPont. The 02 and the 15 still wrecking here. Oh, wow. That 59, I think, pretty much pinballed from the inside to the outside and back again a couple times. But definitely, unfortunately, you see the 31 there making huge contact. Definitely some big edge damage, yep, there with that hit. So, oh, man, definitely unfortunate here.
Yes, I feel like I've commentator cursed the 02 there, getting hauled back on the lead lap just to get taken out. But 2 words can describe how that wreck started: not clear. Seen that plenty of times in Area 51 racing, and it's not really much of an. It's on the drivers, but at the same time, these things happen so fast. We're at the end. You got to take everything you can get, and everybody's going to keep their nose there, even if it's just by an inch. So, but just when you're in these plate races, you have to be situationally aware of who's around you and the runs they have. The spotter is so critical. If they say outside, you cannot clear yourself. And so I know the spotter could not have been saying clear at that moment, but luckily most of our leaders were ahead of that and didn't have to worry about that. But now, instead of the 052 having control of this race, we've got JD Crow in the 5 having control of this race with a teammate of Gabe Butler pushing. But Sebastian Marin, someone put in our chat here saying that he was trapped on the bottom for that last restart. Well, guess what? He's starting in one of my favorite spots to restart. If I'm not going to restart first, I want to be 4th. I can see the leader take off. I can time my run a lot better, and I can give a great push to the guy in front of me. Look for Sebastian Marin to try to make some moves here on this green-white checkered coming up. Yeah, Boomer, we got a little bit of everything here, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely want to try and take advantage of the guys in front of you and really push as soon as you can. Obviously, the first, other than the leader, the first 4 guys, so the 3 behind the leader, have that advantage of seeing him take off, but nobody else really having that advantage, kind of just having to react to the guys in front of them. So we will see here. It will definitely be interesting. So let's take a quick second to go a little bit through the field here, if you will. We do still have JD Crow and Joe Delavecchia leading the front row of this restart, with Gabe Butler and Sebastian Marin, as already highlighted, in the 4th spot. Mark Mann running in 5th, Vicente Guerrero in 6th. David Overstreet and Robert Rock in the top 8, and Michael Spell recovering a little bit from being one of those groups that were 15 to 20 seconds back earlier in this race, now being shown, I believe, in the 8th and 9th position. Kind of tough when they do pass each other under caution to see exactly where they are. So we do have Robert Rock and Eric Laurie rounding out the top 10. So the rest of the cars on the lead lap, there's 18 of them. That includes Andy Brigante in 11th, Andrew Schroeder, Taylor Toller, Noel Cowers, Todd Siebel, Seth Groover, Jay Hillard, and Donald Stewart. So I think Seth was actually fortunate enough to either repair enough damage or save his fast repair, staying on the lead lap. But obviously, I think we've got a couple retirements from that last caution. It does look like Gary Slapinski has retired. I do also show Rick Seabrans and Keith Horner retired, as well as some of our earlier retirements from Randy Miner, Cody Niegels, and Donald Kendrick, with Kyle Heath, unfortunately, again, highlighting, shown in the 36th position, but unfortunately not able to make the start of the race. So he did say he was planning on making the race tonight, but life happens, and we definitely understand that. But yeah, it might be a blessing, as he mentions, with the craziness going on tonight. So we do have the pace car with the lights off, and looking forward to going back green here for this final, well, what might be the final green-white checkered here tonight, Maxwell.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to point out as we went through the field, did you say the 171 who was running with Matt Wagner and all them, dang near going a lap down and having all sorts of trouble with damage early in the race, is running in 8th with a chance to win this race?
Yes, sir.
How exciting is that? Look at some of these guys with the recoveries they've had as we get ready for our first attempt at a green-white checker, the pace car under the yellow line, getting ready to peel off. You've got teammates on the bottom row, but you got Sebastian Marion, who I'm really watching behind that 052. If I was that 052 and I had somebody pushing me, I want the 23 behind me. He is so good at what he does. The 14 shown to be strong tonight. Top 6 really strong trucks, but there's plenty of guys that are recovering in the back. That 02 doesn't look like he's got too bad of damage in the back, and the green flag is out. Here we go. Look, Sebastian Marion and the 14, they were ready. They are pushing on that outside, getting ready to get that lane going and give the 052 the lead going into turn 1.
Man, all 4 of the first 4 trucks in each line really getting a good push. So the 14 of Vicente Guerrero pushing too much into the corner, getting a little squirrely behind the 23 of Sebastian Marin. We do see the 955 of Andy Brigante there, high and wide and handsome on the outside line, trying to make that third line work. We'll see if they can make enough progress there, as the 33 of Taylor Toller actually jumping out in front of them as well. So 2x2 for 4 rows. Then we've got a couple cars. Looks like Seth Groover also maybe trying to make it to the outside line, but that line is pretty fizzling out here. So we will see here as we are going to come down to the white flag, this time by J.D. Crow, still leading that inside lane, being pushed by the teammate of Gabe Butler in the 1. The outside lane being led by Joe Della Vecchia, pushed by the 23 of Sebastian Marin as well. So we will see who is going to make it back to the checkered flag here in 2.66 miles.
Absolutely.
We got a wreck. We got a wreck in the back. Nope, we're going to say green because the white flag has already been thrown.
White flag's out.
Yep,
Look at that 02. He is making moves after that incident last caution. How impressive is this? He's going to try to go 3 wide.
Wow,
Nobody
what a recovery.
really wants to help him, though. But look at this second line, how tight they are. 23 barely hanging on to it. The 5 with an edge. The 1 there. Remember, the start-finish line isn't until after.
Oh, they're wrecking.
Hit.
Oh, the 23 got a push from the 14. Oh, my gosh. Upside down all over. We're going to stay on this. There's a lot of craziness we'll catch up on later, but we do have the 5 of J.D. Crow leading the pack now. The 052 is going to try and make a move to the outside, but not enough momentum. The 1 truck is going to stay in behind in line and push his teammate to the win. It will be J.D. Crow with the first win, his first win of the season. Wow, what a finish, Maxwell.
That may have been his saving grace there, because he's a sitting duck up front. Those guys were going to start getting massive runs out of 4, but they took themselves out, and that killed all the energy for those trucks that were behind JD. So they did not have enough time to pick up momentum. What a win. What a 1-2 finish. Remember, didn't qualify. The 1 truck of Gabe Butler. And here yet he is, getting the finishes he needs. Second place. That should easily help secure his points lead for yet another week. And probably get him some points on some of his competitors like Gary, who had unfortunate nights. But way to go. So this is 5 different winners in 5 races, right, Boomer?
Yes, sir. Yeah, crazy so far. It's been an exciting season so far. We see JD Crow coming back around to the front stretch again after collecting the checkered flag last round. We're going to see him burn it down a little bit here, but we're going to take a second to try and catch up on some of the crazy action that we saw after the white flag. See if we can get a glimpse of some of it, starting with looks like Taylor Taller being the first one to cause an incident, kind of maybe going for the same lane with BK Anderson here in the middle of the track. Those two are going to get collected into the outside lane there, unfortunately. Oh, and taking out a couple cars there. Man, that was a couple big hits for those guys. So that was the first incident. Then we're
And
going
that's
to
another
also
example of
see.
situational awareness too.
Yeah. It looked like Donald Stewart was one of the ones that yeah, Donald Stewart piling into that incident right there. Really nowhere to go for him, unfortunately. So we'll take it a little bit forward, try to see where Todd Siebels was collected. So we see a little bit of action here at the middle of the pack. So the 40, okay, so it was just ahead of those guys. It looked like the 057 and the 23. Oh, that's right. That was the 14 maybe getting a big push to the 23 and not lining up well and just making a little bit of action. So we'll carry through a little bit of slow motion here, seeing some of the guys that didn't quite make it back to the line, unfortunately. Man, after a great recovery, Seth Groover going to have to limp his way back to the finish line as well as the 171. So a couple guys that had a great run and great recovery, just unfortunately having to limp back to, man, bunch of cars here having to limp back to the finish, unfortunately. So we will, yeah, see. I think that was the most of the last incident. Let's ride it on with Noel. Yep, Noel here was just kind of collected. Yeah, unfortunately in this incident as well. And I think just about everyone else was collected here in some of the chaos as those four cars jumped to the front of the pack here for the finish. So not much that they could do. Obviously, the one truck kind of boxed in. Michael Spell somewhat boxing as well, but the one just kind of sticking in line and pushing that 5 to the victory. Not enough momentum for the 052 to capitalize, but still a podium spot for him tonight as we will rewatch this replay here of these guys coming to the checkered flag.
Absolutely. Just Boomer, I'd say this race had a little bit of everything. We had some green flag runs. We had some early cautions that wasn't too big. We had plenty of big ones toward the end. And we had last lap wrecks, even coming to the out of turn 4. So a lot of big names taken out. A lot of guys through multiple wrecks recovering. Seth Groover, I can't say enough, wrecked how many times? 2 or 3 different times tonight. Pit road penalties, everything. And even after that last lap wreck, finishing 11th. Not bad, all in all, for the amount of stuff he had been through. Someone that run up front all race long, Sebastian Marion, backmired last car on the lead lap in 16th. Not at all where he was running. Vicente Guerrero, he 17th, one lap down. You know, crazy race. That's all I can say. And a guy that was damaged early in our first wreck, Robert Rock, finishes 6th. Boomer, could you have ever predicted this coming in tonight?
Yeah, definitely a great recovery for him. Caught up in the last lap incident, but still managing. It looks like, yeah, in 6th place there. Definitely a crazy race for him tonight. So, but we will try and get a chance to interview some of our top 3. I'm trying to look. I don't necessarily see Joe Delavecchia, so we'll see if we can grab an interview with him. But for now, let's actually bring up the 2nd place finisher of Gabe Butler. So again, bringing him into the broadcast booth. If we can not run out of talent here. All right, here we go. Gabe Butler in the number 1 truck coming home in 2nd place tonight. Definitely a bit of a crazy race. We actually had some of the longest green flag runs and green flag pit stops that we've kind of seen so far this season. So, but I want to know what was in your mind there at the checkered, or the green white checkered there, and how that played out and how you were expecting that to play out at the end, Gabe.
Other than the wreck, it kind of played out the way I was expecting it. I was going to try and push JD to the win, and Seabass was going to try and push Joe to the win, so it was going to be battle of the pushers there. But I think the car behind Seabass, pushing him, it's time to go, I guess, but kind of caused that wreck at the end. And I mean, we got a 1-2-3, so it worked out for the team tonight. So that's all good.
Yeah, definitely a great opportunity there for you guys. Another good finish for the Team Bootnaka Esports guys. Definitely exciting there on that last lap. You just able to stay in line and push your teammate to the win. So obviously not electing to take a qualifying lap tonight, I believe. Showed you starting, I think, in the 30th or no, 25th spot. So what was what happened there at the beginning of the race? What was the strategy there?
Nothing major really. Just try something different and maybe just ride around the back a little bit and see what we could stretch on the fuel. And it worked out to a point. If it had to stay green, we were in really good shape. JD made a good call there about splitting the last 3 pit stops. We kind of were able to split up the field on the first one we did. Second one, split them up some more. And the third one, it was a relatively small group of us are coming up to the third one before that caution. We were in excellent shape. So it got us to the front basically by going with JD's call on that. So it was an awesome job on his part.
Yeah, definitely some great teamwork again, as we've highlighted. A lot of teamwork really has won these races so far this season. So the guys like your team that have been able to work together have really done the best. Obviously, TW getting a 1-2-3. Your team now getting a couple 1-2-3 finishes. Big deal for you guys tonight. So definitely want to give you an opportunity to give any thanks and or shout outs that you want to give tonight for this second place finish, Gabe.
Just big shout out to the guys for doing a great job on the pit stops, and again, JD for making the call, and congratulations on a big win there for him. Area 51 for putting on this league, and again, you guys for doing a fantastic job in the booth and broadcasting the big show.
Definitely appreciate that, Gabe, and had a few interviews with you so far this season, and hope to probably see you in a few more as well. So definitely a lot of great runs for the number one of Gabe Butler here this season so far with 5 races in. Without further ado, we will bring up our race winner of JD Crow into the broadcast booth. So JD, that was definitely an exciting finish. You guys were really able to manage most of that race with your teammates and try to stay out front and kind of lead the charge and lead most of the pack. But take us through what you kind of had in the team channel and what your strategies were going to be going into the race and how it kind of played out throughout the race.
Hey, Boomer, welcome to the broadcast. First of all, yeah, when we got out early, lately these races have gone green for quite a while for the most part. So as soon as that first stint got going pretty well on green, I just suggested to the team maybe we think about with the remaining fuel we needed that we split it up to make it a little quicker on our stop, a little shorter stops, and for the guys that ran their tanks dry or almost dry, they were going to give up time in the pit. So we just wanted to change things up from what we've done in the past. And, thankfully we were able to get, at least one more green flag stop in under that strategy and really eliminate a lot of the guys from a lead pack that helped us kind of manage each other's cars and keep the pace high and try to continue to stretch it out. So love it when a plan comes together, and tonight it came together for us.
Yeah, definitely a great opportunity. As you mentioned, we had mentioned earlier in the broadcast that the caution on lap number 10 was kind of goofy there and played with the strategy. We weren't sure if anyone was going to try and force it into a 2-stop and stretch it super far, but obviously you guys electing to pit a little bit earlier and really kind of dictating the rest of the strategy for the end of the race there. So definitely a big advantage there for you tonight. And I mean, for the most part, started P3 and controlled the race there. I guess. did you kind of expect to be there all race long, or actually, maybe let me phrase this question. Maybe want to actually be more interested in what you were thinking at the green white checkered with having a teammate behind you and being able to push you there. How did you think that teamwork was going to go towards the end of the race and towards the end of that green white checkered?
Well, I knew we had two strong lines up front, and felt pretty confident that we could hold those two, and knew some of the guys a little bit further back, would jump to the third as quick as they could. And there toward the end, once we all kind of got lined up, and especially on those restarts, it was pretty much we were committed to whoever was leading those two lines. One of them was going to win it, and the other guys were going to help them. So fortunately, I found myself on that last restart on the front row on the bottom, and Sebastian was giving Joe a great push on the high side, and unfortunately he got knocked off Joe, which kind of messed up our run to the finish to see who was going to be win the pusher award tonight from the team. But that's pretty much, once it gets down to that, you just got to commit to the team, and whoever's in front of you, whoever gets off pit lane the best and gets out front, you try to reward them with trying to get them to the victory.
Yeah, definitely seen a lot of that. We've talked about it a lot on the broadcast. I kind of feel like a broken record, but the guys that can really pull together that team strategy and just push the guy in front of them make the biggest difference. But yeah, definitely excited for you to put yourself in the position. Obviously, I think it was it you and Joe Della Vecchia kind of leading that pack as we came back to the green flag, and you were able to prevail on the inside line with Gabe Butler pushing you, but definitely exciting. Your first win of the season. It's got to feel good, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it feels great, especially here at Talladega. Where you got to really work together as a team and avoid some carnage. And we came out of the night with not only with the win, but we had no incidents, so we had the truck ready for the next race without any work in the shop. And like I said, appreciate the guys I run with. They sure make it a lot of fun. And it's always fun to try to figure out some math during a race like we did on the fuel tonight. So appreciate the guys considering the option and working with me on that. So made it work out good for everybody.
Yeah, awesome. That's once again, this is JD Crow, our winner from the evening. You can see him on the replay here, burning it down backwards down the front stretch. Want to give you a chance, JD, to give any thanks and shout outs for your win tonight.
Of course, first, thank all the guys here at Area 51 for letting me be a part of this season, this league. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great drivers in here, a lot of great strategy to be figured out. And jconcepts.net down in Groveland, Florida, for letting us carry the colors on the truck for all your RC car needs. Give them a look up. They may have something you like. They're all at Digger's Dungeon this weekend, play with monster trucks. So if you're in that area, go by and check them out. And of course, all the teammates here tonight, Gabe, Eric, Sebastian, Joe, I'm probably missing from, let's see who else ran with us tonight. Just appreciate the guys working with us all night. Sorry, some of them had some bad luck. We'll get you to the front next time. And you guys for putting on the broadcast. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the show.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it, JD. Again, congratulations on your win tonight, and definitely an exciting battle that we saw all night long. Take us through what were your thoughts from tonight, Maxwell? What did you like about tonight's action?
Oh man, what did I not like? I mean, all kinds of 3-wide action going on. Kind of called it quick. I said, don't see him going too wide too long here based on last week. And sure enough, I think it was like lap 2. We were 3x3x3 for a little bit. So what I liked is the racing up front. We actually had guys given a lot of room. They wasn't really crowding each other. Not going to accomplish much crowding on lap 10. So definitely guys giving a lot of room. Incidents we had were really just racing deals. Toward the end there, it was a little crazy with just situational awareness and stuff like that, not knowing where guys were at. Something a couple of those guys can look at, maybe go back and watch the broadcast and see it and work on that for next week to get themselves up front. But all in all, just a good I call it a clean race, but the wrecks we had were pretty massive. But we had pit road problems. We had guys that really need to work on that next week, coming down for green flag stops. But again, the last race we didn't have any, so we had to expect that a little bit. But we had some big name guys with trouble, like Gary Klipinski and almost Sebastian Marin. Don't know how he didn't run out into the unsafe pit entry there. It was really close. But also we saw that with Seth Groover. He had unsafe pit entry, and it really cost some of these guys and made them have to be in the back of the pack on some of those restarts. And that's what put them ultimately in a lot of those wrecks that took them out of the race tonight. So pit road issues, we saw that tonight, need to be fixed. Big wrecks, but we also saw some great side-by-side racing, some great teammate work, and we saw teammates all split up tonight. We saw a little bit of everything tonight, Boomer. A lot different than last week, even though we're at the same track. So the same track produces two totally different races, and I love that. But next week, man, we go to one of my favorite tracks. We go to Daytona, and I don't know if it's going to be day or if it's night, but either way, Daytona is awesome. It puts on a show. It's a little bit tighter, but I tell you what, I'm not afraid of 3 wide there, and I sure hope these drivers aren't either, because 3 wide at Daytona is a lot of fun. And the way these guys have been racing the past 2 weeks, I think it could be a heck of a show next week.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot to unpack there from tonight's action. There was a lot of incidents that we saw on the track, fairly clean actually. But like you said, the crashes that happened were big. Was excited to see a little bit of green flag action, green flag pit stops even, which is something that I don't believe we saw at all last week. So definitely exciting to get a little bit of that here. We will now pull up our results from the race tonight. Again, we saw J.D. Crowe picking up his first race win of the season, Gabe Butler grabbing another podium finish, and Joe Dellavecchia also rounding out the podium spots. Michael Spell, a decent recovery from being off of the main draft in 4th, and Eric Laurie there in 5th place. We did mention Robert Rock making it all the way back to 6th place after contact early in an early caution. Andy Brigante, David Overstreet, Andrew Schroeder, and Mark Mann also rounding out your top 10. 11th place was Seth Groover, again one of the others that was able to bounce back pretty well. We did also see Todd Siebels in 12th place, followed by Jay Hillard, Taylor Toller, and Donald Stewart in 15th. Seabass, Sebastian Marin, unfortunately getting collected in some of that late race action on the final lap with the push from Vicente Guerrero finishing in 17th, causing one of the last cautions, or well, I should say incidents, not cautions, on the final lap after we took the yellow flag, or after we took the white flag. So Noel Cowers will also round out our top 18. We'll move to the second page of our results here. Go all the way, should be able to get the rest of the field in here. So in 19th place, we had William George, our third car, 1 lap down, followed by Brandon Briggs, Bud Steele, Paul Sheldon, and Matt Wagner. Matt being collected early on in our very first caution, unfortunately. Definitely bummed to see him have to battle from at least 1 lap down all race, as well as Robert Jordan in 24th spot, the last car 1 lap down. Some of the other cars 2 laps down, we had Jason Adams, Robert DuPont, BK Anderson. BK had a tough night with a lot of contact as well, and as well as Dean Wilkinson in the 28th position. We do have Jimmy Crowe Jr. and Gary Slipinski rounding out the top 30. Rick Severns, Randy Miner, Cody Nagels, Keith Horner, Donald Kendrick, and Kyle Heath rounding out your final spots. I believe Kyle did not actually start, so he showed him as 78 laps down, so unable to make the finish. So Donald Kendrick, actually our last finishing driver for the night. So definitely a mixed bag of results for some drivers, but got to see some strategy from teammates that played off pretty well. And like you said, Maxwell, we're looking forward to going back to Daytona next week.
Absolutely. It's going to put on a heck of a show. The points are kind of getting solidified for probably the top 2 or 3 as far as we being done with race 5. Only 3 races to go till that cutoff for the playoffs. We do have a drop week, so Gary Klipinski had a bad night tonight. He needs to shake it off. It could be dropped. He needs to come back next week and go after checkered flag number 2 on the season. So a lot of guys looking to get in. We'll have updated points next week, I'm sure, that we can look at. And we'll get to kind of start looking at who's going to make that playoff picture, who's on the bubble, and what else can happen in these next 3 races. I've yet to commentate this season for Daytona, so last 2 weeks have been Talladega. I'm excited to go to Daytona International Speedway and see these guys put on one heck of a show. If it's anything like tonight, it's going to be nothing short of action and just amazing driving from these guys. So some of the best here on the plate tracks, and Thursday nights you can find them here in the trucks. So can't wait for next week, Boomer.
Definitely exciting for sure. So next week, as we highlighted, we'll be back at Daytona on June 2nd, followed by 2 more races at Talladega, June 9th and June 16th. Then we will move into the playoffs, alternating then between Daytona and Talladega. So June 23rd and June 30th will be Daytona and Talladega, followed by, I believe, a week off. No, excuse me, no week off. Sorry, Daytona. The second to last race will be July 7th at Daytona, and the final race July 14th at Talladega. So definitely exciting here tonight, and we look forward to being back next week, and we'll have a lot more action for you with the second race at Daytona, the 6th race on the season. Look forward to hopefully seeing you all again back here. We know a lot of people were watching tonight, and we appreciate everyone that joins our broadcasts and chimes in on the chat. We thank you for viewing and really appreciate you being around. And I know a lot of drivers also do the same, check in before the race and also rewatch the races after the fact. So if you've made it this far, whether you're live or watching it back, we always appreciate that audience and that support from you guys. So that'll do it here for myself, Boomer Logan, and for Maxwell Caldwell tonight at Talladega Superspeedway, closing round number 5 now in the books for the Superspeedway Truck Series. Look forward to catching more action here on Green White Checkered TV with our other series here at Area 51. Obviously, the next race should be the Sunday night Xfinity Series Superspeedway cars, and we'll pick back up Monday night with the Next Gen Series, and next Tuesday will be the IndyCar Series, which had a week off this week. So as always, from all of us here at the Green White Checker TV crew, we really appreciate you guys watching, appreciate being a part of the league, and hope you all have a great rest of your week.